February 19th, 1945, Iwo Jima. American Marines hit the black volcanic beaches, and immediately invisible death starts picking them off one by one. Japanese snipers, hidden in caves and palm trees, have the high ground and the better range. The Marines are pinned down, taking casualties from enemies they can't even see. The situation looks hopeless. But in the hands of these desperate soldiers is a weapon that's about to completely flip the script. A semi-automatic rifle that most other armies didn't even believe was possible. This is the story of how America's M1 Garand broke the back of the deadliest snipers in the Pacific War. If you love military history stories, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me which World War II weapon you want to hear about next. Before we get to the solution, you need to understand just how bad things were for American troops in the Pacific. Japanese snipers weren't just good, they were legendary. These soldiers would tie themselves into trees for days, barely moving, barely breathing, waiting for the perfect shot. They'd camouflage themselves so well that American troops would walk right past them without noticing. One sniper could hold up an entire company of men. Soldiers reported watching their buddies get shot and not hearing the gunfire until seconds later. The Japanese were using the Arisaka Type 99 rifle, a bolt-action weapon with incredible accuracy at long distances. Their training was intense, almost fanatical. They knew the jungle, they knew the mountains, and they used every advantage. American soldiers with their own bolt-action Springfield rifles found themselves in fair fights at best and losing fights at worst. Now here's where it gets interesting. The United States had already developed something special before the war even started, the M1 Garand rifle. Designed by a Canadian engineer named John Garand, this rifle was unlike anything the world's armies had seen before. It went into production in 1936, making the United States the only major military power to enter World War II with a semi-automatic rifle as standard issue for infantry troops. The Garand looked like a normal rifle, but it had one massive difference. It was semi-automatic. That means every time you pulled the trigger, it fired, ejected the empty shell, and loaded a new round automatically. No need to manually work a bolt between shots like the Japanese Arisaka or the older American Springfield. General George S. Patton called it the greatest battle implement ever devised. But when Marines first received them, many were skeptical. The rifle was heavier than what they were used to. It made a distinctive ping sound when the clip ejected after the last shot. Some worried enemies would hear it, but none of that would matter once the bullets started flying. Let's break down why the M1 Garand was such a game-changer in simple terms. Imagine you're playing a video game. Your enemy has a weapon that shoots once, then they have to stop, reload, and aim again. You have a weapon that shoots 8 times as fast as you can pull the trigger. Who's winning that fight? The Garand held 8 rounds in what's called an en blanc clip, basically a metal strip that held all the bullets together. When you were empty, the clip ejected automatically with that famous ping sound, and you could slam a new clip in within seconds. Compare that to the Arisaka, which held 5 rounds and required the soldier to manually work a bolt after every single shot. This might not seem like a huge deal, but in combat, seconds mean everything. The difference between 1 shot every few seconds versus 8 shots in a rapid succession was literally the difference between life and death. The first major test came during the island-hopping campaigns across the Pacific. When Marines landed on islands like Tarawa, Saipan, and eventually Iwo Jima and Okinawa, they encountered the same deadly pattern: Japanese snipers in elevated or concealed positions picking off advancing troops. But something different started happening.
When a Japanese sniper took a shot and gave away his position, American troops with Garand could immediately return fire, not just once or twice, but with a sustained barrage. Based on what we know from battle reports, this unexpected volume of fire caught Japanese snipers completely off guard. They were trained for one-on-one duels with bolt-action rifles, not for facing 8 shots coming back at them rapidly. The psychological impact was immediate. Soldier testimonies from these battles describe how the Japanese snipers, who had previously operated with almost complete freedom, suddenly found themselves in serious danger. This could explain why many abandoned their carefully prepared positions after just 1 or 2 encounters with Garand-equipped units.
Let me paint a picture of how this played out in real combat. On Iwo Jima, Marines were advancing up Mount Suribachi, the volcanic mountain you've probably seen in the famous flag-raising photo. Japanese snipers had this mountain honeycombed with caves and firing positions. They had clear sight lines down to the beaches where Americans were still landing supplies. One Marine squad reported encountering a sniper who had already killed 3 men. The sniper was hidden in rocks about 200 yards away, close enough to be deadly, but far enough to be hard to spot. In the old days with bolt-action rifles, troops would have to carefully aim, fire 1 shot, and hope they hit their target. If they missed, the sniper would relocate. Not this time. When they spotted muzzle flash from the sniper's position, 5 Marines with Garands opened up simultaneously. 40 rounds poured into that rocky area in less than 10 seconds. The sniper never fired again. The Marines didn't know if they hit him directly or if he simply fled, but the result was the same. The threat was neutralized. At Okinawa, the story repeated itself dozens of times. Japanese snipers found that the moment they fired, they'd have to relocate immediately or face overwhelming return fire. Based on captured Japanese documents and post-war interviews, we can assume this completely disrupted their tactical approach. They'd spent years perfecting the art of the patient, hidden kill. The Garand forced them to either abandon their positions or risk being overwhelmed by superior firepower.